Hello, everyone, and welcome on Coach QC's podcast. In today's episode, I'm very happy and pleased to have Pumi from England, UK. Thank you very much, Pumi, for being here and welcome.
Thank you so much, Clement. It's nice to see you.
So I got in contact with you because I saw your social media and I saw that you were very active promoting a certain nutrition or certain lifestyle, I would say. And I started to interest myself to your story, and I think your story needs to be shared with a lot of people, and in particular women, as many women today are experiencing many issues, gynecological issues to speak about. I had an interview with Dr. Keels. We also talked about it. But I think you had some issues about it. Of course, I said it. And you tried many remedies, many ways trying to heal, but not many worked. And then you found the carnivore diet. Is that correct?
Yes. I wish I'd found carnivore first. But you know how it is. Life happens the way it's supposed to happen. So yeah, it's been a long journey. I spent all of my 20s trying to fix my menstrual cycle because ever since I had my first menstrual cycle at the age of 10, it was always painful since the first one. And as I got older, actually, the pain got worse because the more things I tried, some of the things I tried made it worse, like the vegan diet made it much worse. And that was surprising to me because I really thought that excluding all meat was the best thing to do. I thought it was going to be the most anti-inflammatory thing that I could do, but then it ended up being the most damaging thing ever.
How
But
long?
yes, I've tried
How long did you try the vegan diet?
8 months.
Okay,
And
and so when you say it made it worse, how?
so my cycle was always painful. Like I would be in the bed for 3 days, usually in pain. And then when I went vegan, I noticed that it got even worse. And I thought I was already like dying, but then the vegan diet added something more. When I went vegan, a few months in, I started to feel this stabbing pain in my ovaries, and that's one of the signs of PCOS. And now I understand that I developed PCOS when I was vegan because the vegan diet is very high carbohydrate, very high in sugar, and you may be cutting meat, but then you're having so many other things that contribute to insulin resistance. Like I was eating lots of potatoes, lots of beans, thinking that that was the healthiest thing to do. And then I ended up with my stomach being bigger than ever, my cycle being more painful than ever. And yeah, that was surprising.
So why did you stop the vegan diet? So you were going in that tunnel, and then at some point, what happened? So you stopped.
Yeah, I stopped at the 8 month mark because I've tried many diets and I usually give them like, at least 3 months to do what they're supposed to do. But then when you're on the vegan diet, people are like, oh, your health issues will get worse before they get better. And that's why I did 8 months. I should have stopped after 3 months, but I just kept going because I believed that maybe my body is going through some kind of healing phase and I just need to wait. Something's going to change at some point. And then the pain got so bad. And I was like, you know what? This doesn't make any sense. I'd be stupid to continue when I can see my health is getting worse. And also the truth is I really missed meat. Every time I smelled meat, I would really like want it. But I thought, no, I have to be vegan. I have to be this holy vegan girl who doesn't eat meat. So I said no to myself, but my body was crying for it.
How much do you think I wouldn't say the current, because I think the whole movement kind of reduced in intensity, but back then, do you think the vegan propaganda played a role for you to continue um, that long, even though you
Yeah.
didn't get results?
Definitely, because they tell you that if you're vegan, you're going to be more alkaline, your body's more pure, your blood is cleaner, you're more spiritually better than other people. So all of that just made me think that it was the right path. And then they talk about the suffering of the animals, but I ended up suffering by sacrificing not eating animals. And of course, I love animals, but I also know that now I understand that we need to eat animal products in order to be our healthiest self. And it was the most unloving thing for me to do, to go vegan. So, in the name of self love, since that's also very prominent these days, I would say it was the most unloving thing I've ever done.
Okay, cool. So after the vegan, what happened?
Well, after the vegan diet, I was really, really upset because it didn't work. Because I thought, how can this not heal me? They promised me that it's going to work. This is supposed to be the best thing ever, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and now it hasn't worked. And so I was really angry with myself. I was angry with the vegan diet. I was angry with God. And I was like, you know what? If vegan doesn't help me, then nothing is going to help me. Let me just go back to eating the normal rubbish processed food, because what's the point? I've tried the best diet in the world and it didn't work. And so I went back to eating lots of carbs, lots of dessert. I would eat sugar, a lot of sugary desserts to make myself feel better about life, because I thought, oh, well, nothing's going to work. I've tried cutting everything, so let me just eat whatever I want. And that made me feel obviously even worse. And I gained a lot of weight. My skin, oh my gosh, if I wish I could show you a picture. Actually, I don't want to show you a picture. It's so embarrassing. My skin got worse. Everything got so much worse. And then again, I decided to reach out to another doctor, nutritionist, even though I'd done that for the past 15 years. But then I thought, okay, I've messed myself up again. Let me get help from someone just one more time. And then I saw that nutritionist and he put me on a low carb diet, but it wasn't as low carb as keto. It
Hmm.
was more carbs than keto. So I did that for a while. It didn't change much, still had a painful cycle. And by this time, I'd given up trying to fix it because I'd accepted nothing is going to work. So the only true benefit I got from this nutritionist diet was like that I was having less carbs than usual. So obviously I felt a little bit better. And then I started realizing that, okay, this is also not getting me where I want it to get me. And I started researching about keto. Um, but it wasn't so simple. If you want me to go deeper into it, it was more like divine intervention, honestly. So for the past few years, I had been having fruit for breakfast with a chia seed pudding or maybe like overnight oats. And so one day I was in the grocery store buying some fruit as usual for my breakfast for the next week. And something told me that I I should not be buying fruit anymore. And I
Okay.
didn't understand why I felt like that. And I went home and I went on YouTube, which is what I usually do when I research something. I went on YouTube and I think I Googled something like, is fruit sugar as bad as refined sugar? And I don't remember what video I watched, but the conclusion was that, yeah, both fruit sugar and refined sugar are both negative, have negative consequences to your health. I don't want to go into the science because I'm not going to get it right, but I used to think fruit sugar was healthy because it's natural, not knowing that my liver was being burdened by the fructose and all of that. So that was the day I realized that fruit is not as innocent as people think it is. And so, you know how when you Google one thing on YouTube, it starts to recommend other things. So then YouTube started recommending keto to me. And of course, I'd heard the word keto before, but I was never, ever interested in finding out more information about keto because I was in love with carbohydrates. And I knew that keto does not include carbohydrates. So I just never ever wanted to do keto. But I was so desperate that I thought, okay, well, let me just listen to a video. So I watched something, I don't know what I watched, and I learned about the benefits of ketones and being in ketosis, and people are losing weight, skin is improving. So I thought, okay, this sounds good, let me try it. But I didn't get a chance to try keto because YouTube again sent me more videos. Now it went even deeper, and the videos were about carnivore. And when I saw the videos about carnivore, I was like, that is ridiculous. How can someone eat meat only? That doesn't make any sense. But I had the time and I decided to watch some videos about carnivore. And I was blown away by what I saw because I'd never seen people who look so healthy.
Mm.
Besides what they were saying, when I looked at them, the same way I'm looking at you now, if I wasn't carnivore today, just looking at you, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? I need to do it. Everyone just looked so vibrant, healthy, skin glowing, dream bodies. Whether it was a man or a woman, they would always be like in shape. It was just that was enough to convince me that maybe I should go even deeper than keto and I should try carnivore. So that's why I said I didn't even get a chance to try keto because the carnivore videos came up and I was like, oh my gosh, people look so good. And then the comments also said people were reversing crazy, crazy conditions, things that I believed were not able to be healed. And that's all the convincing that I needed.
Mhm. When you said I didn't want to do keto because I loved carbs, do you think love is the right word?
No, I was addicted to carbs.
I'm asking that question because I also had the pleasure to interview Beaton Johnson, and I think in many cases people justify the carbs intake by through many reasons, but I think the addiction is something that we don't speak enough, even in the keto or carnivore space. Um, and there is a real addiction process with the sugar and the carbs.
Absolutely. I didn't. I think I've been on a high carb diet since I was born, I think.
Okay, but
Yeah.
did you struggle getting out of this addiction?
I think I would have struggled more if I hadn't been on that lower carb diet from that nutritionist. Like if I had gone from that diet where I was having lots of desserts and lots of sugar, rice, beans, straight into carnivore, I might have struggled more because, of course, I still had the withdrawal symptoms on the first few days of carnivore, but it wasn't as bad as someone who would have come from a very processed
Mm.
diet.
And how did you start? Because many people are, even if they are appealed by the idea, they always have this question: how should I start? What should I do? Should I go straight into just eating meat, or should I transition? How was your journey into it?
I didn't transition. I literally stopped eating everything on the day when I watched the videos because I'm that kind of person. I can do something called turkey. Same as when I went vegan, I went straight into vegan. But I know lots of people struggle and they want to transition. But for me, if I had kept even like a banana or like a little bit of something, it would have not allowed me to go carnivore properly. So I had to cut everything immediately in order for it to work. The same way, some people are not moderators. They 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 have to stop it completely to stop the addiction. So I think back then I was like that. I had to cut it immediately.
Was it easy to start at the first 2, 3, 4 weeks?
I would say yes, because I was already on a lower carb diet. If I hadn't been, it would have been difficult. Imagine I was having apple pie, apple crumble with custard every night before I went on that low carb diet. So I can't imagine going from eating dessert every day to going carnivore strict. But the first few days for me, they were hard because there was some kind of sugar withdrawal. I remember, I think it was day 3. I was lying on the couch and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel weird. Something was just happening. I don't know what it was, but I felt like in some kind of daze, but it didn't last long, maybe just that day. And then the next day I felt alive again. And it was the first time in my life that I didn't feel dizzy after eating or a few hours after eating, because usually I would eat something and then an hour or two later, I would literally feel my blood sugar drop and I would need to eat something again in order to not get dizzy. And you train people all the time, and I don't know if you have clients who experience that, where they need to eat before working out, they need to eat during the workout, and then they need to eat after the workout. I was that kind of person where if I don't, I might faint. I don't know. I never allowed myself to get to the point of fainting. I always had food with me. But yeah, my blood sugar was really, really messed up. And by day 4 on carnivore, I was able to go 4 to 6 hours without eating, which had never ever happened in my entire life. And that was the first confirmation for me that carnivore works and I'm on the right track.
Okay. And related to your PCOS issue, how long did it take once you entered carnivore for it to reduce or disappear? I don't know.
So the first month of carnivore was the first month that I didn't need to use painkillers for the first time since I was vegan. And so the first month I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, the pain is gonna come. When the pain comes, I'll take the painkiller. And thank God the pain didn't come and I didn't need to take painkillers. And that was the second confirmation that, oh my gosh, carnivore is really working. It was the first time that I'd had a cycle that was just manageable. It wasn't great. I still had pain, but I didn't have that pain that made me feel depressed and like I'm suffering. And then by the time I had the 4th cycle on the carnivore diet, which was month number 3, that was when the stabbing pain completely disappeared. And I was like, no freaking way. And that's when I started to make videos because I was like, I cannot keep this to myself because there's so many women around the world who are suffering with this condition. And they're trying so many strategies and they're all not working. Whether you try the medication or you try a certain diet, if it's not carnivore, I just haven't seen anyone having success with all the other information that we get about this condition.
And how do you see the relationship between the nutrition and the disease or the remission of the disease?
So what I learned now is that PCOS is also known as type 3 or type 4 diabetes because when you have insulin resistance and pre-diabetes, you're definitely coming from a high sugar diet, and that sugar and those carbohydrates, they cause inflammation in our bodies. But for people like me in particular, it causes inflammation in that area. And so you end up developing these cysts due to the inflammation. And because they cannot burst, you do not have a successful ovulation. And so those cysts remain as cysts instead of releasing the egg during ovulation. And that's what causes the pain by the time you get your menstrual cycle. Because there's so much inflammation in that area, your womb grows during your cycle. And so those cysts get a lot of pressure around them, and that's what is causing the pain. So the nutrition part is that when you reduce the carbs, reduce the sugar, you reduce the inflammation. And so those cysts don't get to a point of growing to the point where they're causing this pain.
Do you think there's a relationship with also plants? Plant matter? Food?
I do think so. Also in terms of the thyroid, because when I was vegan, I was having a lot of kale, a lot of goitrogenic vegetables that cause issues to your thyroid health. I didn't have blood tests in between then and now, But I noticed that since I went carnivore, I'm not so cold anymore and my weight is more stable, which also translates to better thyroid health.
And did you have a doctor to who you talked to at the same time um, as you went through that process?
No, I haven't really had a doctor. Well, not a doctor, but more of a functional medicine doctor. So like I have like naturopath that I consult, but not a medical GP.
It
I
would
don't
have
really trust
been
them.
to exchange with him or her and see what they think, or how they position themselves.
Sorry, say that again.
I said it would have been interesting to know how they would have positioned themselves.
Yeah, true. But I gave up on doctors a long time ago. So even if I had a doctor, I probably would have not told them that I was doing carnivore in the first place.
Why do you feel you had to give up on like allopathic medicine?
Because I've never helped me. I went there all of my life since I was a child looking for a solution for the same problem. I mean, I went to doctors in Zimbabwe with the same menstrual pain. They just gave me painkillers, stronger painkillers. Then when I moved to South Africa, I would go to doctors and they would give me the same thing, the same painkillers. And then when I moved to the UK, same thing. There's never a root cause solution. It's just here's a painkiller. That's it. You're a woman. Your cycle is supposed to be painful. What else do you want? And they don't, investigate further. And even if you ask them to investigate further, I actually had an ultrasound and they said, can't see anything, everything is fine. And when someone tells you that, but you know what you're going through every month, you feel helpless because the people who are supposed to help you are not helping you. They just give you painkillers. And also, there was a time I was recommended birth control, and I did take it. I gave that also about a year. I gave it a chance for about a year, and it didn't help the pain. But they tell you that birth control will balance your hormones and make your period better. But I didn't have that experience. So that is why I've given up on that.
I see. And then once you started to share your story after those 3 months period in carnivore, was it on social media or around you in your daily life?
I shared on social media because when you tell people in your personal life about this miraculous diet that you're doing, sometimes it doesn't go down well because it's unsolicited advice. And I learned the hard way. Even when I was vegan, I would tell people, "Oh my gosh, try vegan. It's going to be amazing." And nobody wants to hear that they should stop eating meat. So I didn't do like one-on-one telling people that I know about carnivore. I decided to start my page because I thought if it's online, whoever is meant to find it is gonna find it. The same way I found those videos because I was supposed to find them in the right time. You have to be ready to receive the carnivore message, you know.
And how
If you're
was the
not
reception from the people? Did you get
sorry,
many women reaching out to you and who wanted to know more about your own
yeah,
experience?
there's a lot of women of all ages, even mothers with daughters. They're like, please help me, tell me exactly what to do. My daughter is suffering, I am suffering, how did you do it? All the time. And it amazes me because in my life I always felt like I was one in a million, because when I would look around, my friends and my family didn't have painful cycles the way I did. But ever since I've been online, now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really not alone. This is a real problem. And I don't know if the people in my life minimize the pain that they're going through and they've normalized it and they're like, oh well, that's just it. I don't know if I was less tolerant and less accepting that this is how life is supposed to be, because I always knew that this can't be right. I can't be in this much pain every 28 days.
You mentioned Zimbabwe and South Africa, and I know that there is a huge increase in chronic disease and metabolic disease in certain part of Africa.
Mm.
How is it in Zimbabwe or South Africa?
So when I visit, especially now after a year of being carnivore, I now can see inflammation in people's bodies, because I had it. I wasn't aware of it, but now I can see it. People have really puffy faces. They have really big stomachs, and I mean men and women. And I think it's even worse when a man is overweight, because I'm just like, you have estrogen imbalance and you're a man. That's so bad. But people, I think also from a cultural perspective, people value having a bigger body because it's a sign of wealth and it's a sign that you're doing well. And so people try to get bigger bodies on purpose. And so they overeat on purpose and they eat certain foods on purpose, not knowing that those are the things that cause heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. And personally, I did it too at some point. There was a time I was really thin when I was about 20, 21, and 22. And it's very, very embarrassing to share, but I will share with you. Um, I heard that my boyfriend's friends at the time were talking about how skinny I was, and I was so upset to know that basically they were saying I was unattractive because black men find bigger women more attractive. So when I heard that, I went on YouTube to find out how can I get a bigger body. And one of the biggest advices I saw on the YouTube was that you should eat a lot of white potato. And that's what I did. And then remember I told you I ended up with insulin resistance? That's exactly what gave it to me. So I see it in people and I'm so sad because of the cultural norm of being bigger. How are you going to fight that? How am I going to change anyone's mind?
So, where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from.
Is it an overcompensation of scarcity? What is it? Is it
Yeah, I think so, because if you have a bigger body as a woman, they associate it with higher fertility, higher ability to, sustain a pregnancy and you just look like a stronger woman who can take more physical strain, because back in the day, women did a lot of manual labor, carrying the buckets and the food on their heads, things like that. So I guess it does have to do with scarcity/slavery, a lack of resources. Yeah, it's still ingrained in us.
the idea of having enough food is a psychological form of safety or perception of
Yes.
safety?
Yeah. And if you have a bigger body, it's a sign that you're not suffering anymore, a sign that you're doing well financially.
I didn't know you can find. I've never tried, obviously, but I didn't know that you can actually find videos on YouTube to how to gain weight.
You can, yeah. How to gain weight specifically in your lower body, which is what I needed, apparently, according to my boyfriend's friends at the time. They were saying that you know how the hourglass figure, I did not have that. And so that was my goal, how to get hourglass body.
Okay. And when you heard these comments, did you talk to your boyfriend or you just assume this is the truth and I'm gonna go prove
I
the
I did talk to him and of course he liked me for who I was. Of course. Otherwise he wouldn't have been with me. And he did say so. But as a woman, when you hear that other men find you unattractive, doesn't matter what your boyfriend says, because it just hurts you so much. Especially at the time, I was very insecure. So I took what they said as more important than what he was saying.
So you said now your PCOS is gone completely after 3 months of carnivore.
So yeah, the pain is gone, but I recently spoke to Dr. Siders and he was saying it is not gone completely, because if I was to go back to eating the same diet or a higher carb diet, then the symptoms would come back. So he said it's more accurate to say that it's in remission than to
Mm.
say that it's gone.
Okay. All right. And did the carnivore diet lifestyle had benefits on your? You said I didn't have self-confidence at the time or self-esteem. Do you think that the carnivore diet or the carnivore nutrition can also improve the psychological aspect of things?
Yeah, I would say 100%. And I wanted to say actually that it's funny that I prefer my body now on carnivore than my high potato diet body, because now i- my hormones are balanced, and therefore the weight has gone to all the places that any woman would want the weight to go to. Unlike that previous diet, I was just getting bigger and bigger everywhere. Now I have the curves in the places that I wanted. And so, yes, of course, my confidence has gone up, but also carnivore contributes to a more stable mood, which already makes you more confident because you're more emotionally sure and you're more mentally focused. And then your skin also improves, which also makes you more confident. And then your athletic ability also improves, which automatically makes you more confident because your body gets stronger. You have more endurance. I mean, I'm working out more than I've, not more, but better than I've ever worked out before. I've started doing high intensity Pilates. Never did that before. And I do the 10,000 steps per day. I wasn't even motivated to do that before. Now, when I don't do it, I feel like something is not right in my day. It just, it changes every aspect of your life. Unlike other diets that will only focus on the food that you're eating, this is the first time where it's touched my psyche, my mental life, my emotional life. And as a woman in particular, I'm sure you've experienced unstable moods during or before the menstrual cycle. That doesn't happen to me anymore. I'm the same way I am now is the same way I'll be just a few days before my cycle, but that was not the case before. I'd always get much more irritated or irritable before my cycle and snappy. That doesn't happen anymore. Hopefully my husband would say, yes, she's not lying. But I think I'm a much nicer person now throughout the month.
So the carnivore diet is a solution to end the cliche that angry women are angry because of the period, right?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, it's my first time eating high fat for sure. I mean, all of us probably were avoiding fat all of our life. And yeah, the fat has really made a difference to everything.
Okay, so that's the next point because I I've encountered many women, especially women, who have trouble with fat. How did it go with you at the beginning? Because of course, when we say carnivore, people think meat, and they think, unfortunately, protein. And of course, the carnivore is high fat, moderate protein. So how did you manage to increase the fats?
So I came from a life where I had tried everything and nothing had worked. And then when I heard that you should eat high fat, I thought, okay, well, if everything I've tried has not worked, and this is the opposite of everything I've ever tried, I'm definitely going to try it. And even though, a lot of women struggle with the idea of eating fat, whether it's the texture or the taste or the idea that fat is going to make you fat, I was at the point of desperation where I didn't care anymore. I just went in and I did it. And if there's someone out there who's listening and they're like, I can't even imagine eating the fat of the meat. The funny thing is that if you eat the fat on the meat raw, it's a better texture than when it's cooked, in my opinion. But of course, that's another hurdle to actually think of eating raw. But if you have a problem with the texture, that's what I would suggest. The other thing I would suggest is to try eating butter, which is also a strange concept if you've never done it before. But if you want balanced hormones, if you want the body of your dreams, if you want lubricated, moisturized skin, these are the sacrifices you have to make. And you just have to tell your brain that this is good for me, and everything I've believed is a lie about low fat being healthier, low fat giving you the body of your dreams, low fat being what is going to heal your body, because you've tried that up to now. And has it worked? If it had worked, you probably wouldn't be watching this podcast. So please try eating higher fat, however you need to do it. If you need to put the butter in your coffee to mask the taste, do that. If you need to put the fat over the meal that you're having, do that. But just make sure that every meal you have, you prioritize fat. It will change your life. It changed mine.
Some people in the carnivore space are counting, how much meat they eat, grams, etc., or ounces, depending where you live. How did you do it? Did you do it like some other carnivores are saying, just eat until you feel satiated and then you'll be fine? Or did you also count your portions?
So I've never counted my calories in my life, and I've never counted macros. And so when I went carnivore, I didn't even know how to count. So I started by eating until I was satiated. But the problem with that is that if you're under eating, you're not going to know. And also, there's this thing in carnivore that you should eat one meal a day. But personally, that never worked for me. Sometimes it worked, but it it's not something that I recommend to women in particular, especially if you're a woman who's coming from disordered eating patterns where you were very much limiting your portions because you were afraid of gaining weight. If you're a kind of woman who was eating 6 small meals per day to 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 make sure you don't gain weight, which is what I'm coming from, I would say people like us, we should eat until we're satiated, but also eat again in the night before you sleep, so that you make sure that you're not under eating, because you're probably coming from this mindset that I should eat a steak this size and it should be enough. But that's not necessarily true, especially if you haven't had enough fat in the day. So I don't advocate for one meal a day personally. I would say eat and enjoy, because you've been starving yourself for how many years? So now is the time to replenish all the nutrients and all the food that you were denying yourself of. And yeah, as a woman in particular, we need to fix our relationship with food and stop being afraid to eat, and stop thinking that if you eat a lot, then it's not very feminine, because you need to fuel your body. It's not You shouldn't be afraid of food and afraid of gaining weight. And thankfully, carnivore, I promise you again, it will give you the body of your dreams as long as you eat enough fat.
What would you say to a woman who would tell you, well, I tried, but I cannot eat fat. I want to throw up.
Um,
Because I heard that many times,
yeah, I'm sure.
not on the psychological or the belief. It's more about the physiology by itself, saying, well, I can't, I feel disgusted and something.
It's a tough one. It didn't happen to me, so I don't have a practical, real life advice. But if you struggle to eat fat, then let's say you're having ground beef or mince. then instead of eating like the fat on a ribeye or a steak, which is very thick, then at least drizzle the mince that you're eating or the steak that you're eating with the tallow or the butter that you're cooking it in. And if you drink coffee, then you can add that fat to the coffee. Hopefully that would mask the taste. And then, of course, just try to eat a tiny amount of butter today. Tomorrow you eat a bit more and increase with time. Because not
Mhm.
only do your taste buds need to get used to the fat, even your bile ducts need to get used to the increase in fat. So go slowly. You don't have to eat a chunk of fat on day one, but make it a goal to increase with each day.
I just want to go back a bit in the African context. We talked about the social aspect of gaining weight as a social status improvement. But do you think that the type of food that sub-Saharan Africans used to eat versus what they eat, I mean, used to eat maybe 60, 70, 100 years ago versus what they are eating right now, how do you see that?
I ask myself this every day. And I'm arguing with people online about this topic every day because people in sub-Saharan Africa believe that maize and corn and all of those grain-rich foods, they've become a part of our culture. And even on a personal level, when I was growing up, those foods always used to make me feel very bloated and I never wanted to eat them. But when you say no to eating that kind of food, it's taken in a very bad way because people believe that this is our thing, this is our culture, it's African. But what I now understand is that corn and maize were brought to Africa. I don't know, I think it was about 200 years ago, and it came from Mexico. Obviously, that's where tortillas are from and corn in general. That's their staple food. And it came to Africa. It's not actually our thing. So it makes me very sad because it's also become very refined and industrialized, these grains. And I mean, something that used to be brown and whole grain is now bleached white, and people take it as their cultural food. And they still get so offended if you don't want to eat it or if you say something negative about it. So people are very much misled. And, it's so hard to break cultural beliefs. And they accuse you of wanting to be too Western if you say that you don't eat those things or you
So do
don't
you,
want
you
to.
get negative comments from African people online a lot?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, not online, more like in my personal life.
How did people reacted once you started to promote it online? I guess your surroundings, um, friends and family probably understood what you were doing. Did they say, what was their reaction?
So one of my friends, I tried to convince to go carnivore because she was having a lot of health issues. And the first thing she said to me is, that is a very dangerous diet. You shouldn't try it yourself. You're going to die, basically. And I could not push further because if someone has made up their mind that something is dangerous, how on earth am I going to convince them otherwise? And so I didn't discuss it with them again. And unfortunately, their health continues to deteriorate. But like I said, a person has to be ready to receive the carnivore message. And then I've had a few other friends who have actually started the carnivore diet thanks to my posts and the changes that they've seen in me. One of them lives here in the UK and one of them lives in Zimbabwe. Actually, there's another one who lives in the UK as well. And the third person I'm speaking about, she has had PCOS for many years. And she had an advanced stage of PCOS where she only gets her cycle a few times a year. And she said she did carnivore for 6 weeks and she got her cycle back after not seeing it for a really long time. So that was amazing. But So far, family members still think I'm weird and I'm crazy and I'm on the wrong path. But hopefully, with time, and you drop the seed today, it doesn't mean that the seed will germinate and grow on the same day. So I have faith that one day low carb keto carnivore will be more mainstream, because of course it's still very taboo to eat low carb.
Okay. You think it's not becoming mainstream right now? Still.
Definitely not where I'm from. No, I in the UK maybe, in the US maybe, in Europe in general it's much more popular. But in Africa, oh my gosh, you're still a weirdo. If you eat low carb or you don't eat carbs, it's the most it's the strangest thing that you could do in an African context.
So you say that the comments are you are becoming too westernized.
Yeah,
So,
it's
so
weird.
some people are mixing racial component with scientific component.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay.
They because I don't know if I should say people are being brainwashed or what, but people don't see or they don't believe that carnivore is very African. But in my opinion, it is, because this is probably how my African ancestors ate before the refined grains came about and before agriculture came about. Of course, we were eating animals, but people have been brainwashed to believe that these grains, these refined grains like the maize and the pap and the ugali, that that's our culture, regardless of the effect on their metabolic health.
So how do you, I mean, I'm interested to know, how do you navigate emotionally? Because there is two layers in your case. The first layer that most carnivores, let's say keto people, can experience once they go publicly, speaking about it, is a backlash from, of course, non-believers about this, or your own family, friends, groups, whatever, colleagues sometimes. But it seems that you maybe get that from the first layer, and the second layer is also coming from a cultural, racial aspect. But you're still doing it, so it's not strong enough to stop you talking about it, right?
No, and there's two reasons for that. First of all, I am a very stubborn person.
Mm.
So you can tell me I'm on the wrong path all day, but if I believe I'm on the right path, that's it. Second reason is my body is confirming to me every single day that this is the best thing I've ever done for myself. So even if someone is telling me that XYZ negative things about the carnivore diet, I don't care, because I'm in less pain. And pain is the greatest motivator in this world. If my pain is gone, the same way the same way people get addicted to narcotics because it takes away their pain. Pain changes you. And thankfully I'm on a healthy path for getting rid of my pain. So I will preach carnivore for a very long time. And I'm not the kind of person who says that someone should be carnivore forever till the day they die, because I don't know. I don't know what next year holds in terms of my journey, but I do know that it's working for me now. And I do know that it's an amazing elimination diet if you want to try it for 90 days. It will change your life. It will give you a reset if that's what you're looking for. And if you have autoimmune disease, then the longer you do it, the greater the benefit. But I'm not stopping because it works. It has proven to me, after 15 years of actively working on my cycle, I can now have a cycle and I'm not crying and I'm not in the bed for 72 hours. So how can I stop talking about it? I have to tell as many people as possible, because every day I see videos about women who are taking morphine for endometriosis pain. They are taking this drug and doing that thing and paying so much money, still getting the wrong information. So I have to share this. It would be wrong for me to keep it to myself.
So you only had the PCOS and the insulin resistance and the skin issue, right?
And endometriosis, which I'm still working on. Um, I think it was before the beginning, before the call or before the video started, we were talking about how the PCOS is definitely in remission, but the endometriosis is still something that I'm working on. And the longer I'm on carnivore, the better, of course, that the pain is getting, but it's not completely gone yet. And the more research I do into endometriosis, the more I realize about how it's not just a menstrual cycle issue. When it comes to endo, it's a full body disease, and it's now being classified as an autoimmune disease. And it's also been stated that it's more painful than childbirth, more painful than kidney stones, and more painful than cancer. That's how much pain it is. So knowing that now makes me understand why it's taking longer for the endo symptoms to go away, because it's a much bigger issue than I understood.
What is the percentage of pain reduction you would um, say you had through the carnivore diet?
Well, I just had a very good cycle about a week ago, the best one of my life, I would say. And that's a year into carnivore. So I would say that I think I'm at the 60% mark.
Better.
I didn't, yeah, 60% better. It is good. Yeah, it is good. Um, but it's also teaches me that it's not instant, and it reminds me that we're all different, because when you research other women who have been carnivore and healing these kind of conditions, for some people it takes 3 months, for some people it takes 8 months, for some people it takes 2 years. And so you can never compare your journey to somebody else's, because we all have different bodies, we all have different trauma, we all have different nutritional and genetic histories. I'm just saying that in case someone is trying to measure their healing journey compared to somebody else, you cannot do that. Yes, we may be doing the same carnivore diet, but it affects us differently, and we're all coming from different health issues and aspects. So just don't compare your journey, because when I started, I thought that I would be healed by month number 6, and I don't want people to lose hope on
Okay.
the journey and give themselves a specific timeline to heal something, because it doesn't work like that.
Do you feel that sometimes when people go into a keto carnivore diet, they expect quick results?
Yeah, because we are human beings and it's natural. We all want quick fix. We all want to be healed now, as in now, not even tomorrow. You want to feel better right now, because pain sucks. It's the worst thing. And health is wealth. If your health is not in good shape, then you have nothing. So, of course, you want carnivore to answer every problem that you have. If it is this miracle diet, then it better happen quickly. But it's not like that. It just takes time sometimes.
How do you see the workout next to the diet? Because some people, they just go into the diet and then they also to lose weight. Many people are doing it to lose weight. So they go in, they lose weight, but they don't really look at the physical activity. Do you think it's a big component of overall health?
So the first um the first maybe 4 months of carnivore, I was not working out. I I was not working out before carnivore anyway, so I didn't like start carnivore and start working out. But I think after the 4th month or so, I felt really good in my body and I felt strong enough to start working out. And I just want to say that in the past, I was never able to do fasted workouts because of the blood sugar issue that I had. And like I said, I had to eat before, during, and after workouts. So when I was like 4 months into carnivore, my blood sugar was so stable and I felt really strong. And so I tried to work out and I noticed that I was able to work out even without eating for the first time in my entire life.
Hmm.
I was able to do weightlifting. I was able to do some cardio. I didn't get dizzy. I felt really strong. I was like, oh my gosh, I am superwoman. I can do anything now. And so the longer I've been on carnivore, the more I started to work out. And the funny thing is that I used to have a personal trainer and I used to go like 3 times a week and he would really make me work out a lot, but I wouldn't lose weight. I wouldn't get stronger. Nothing. I was paying for nothing because my diet was bad. And I've noticed that on carnivore, you can do like a less intense workout and you'll get more results because you're eating correctly, which is just, who doesn't want that?
Did your personal trainer at the time was aware of the whole low carb aspect of,
I wasn't I wasn't low carb at that point when I had the personal trainer.
but
I
was
was
he aware of it himself?
No, not that I know of, and he wasn't doing it either. He was eating rice every day and he recommended rice to me. And yeah, he was eating the normal standard diet. I think he was even the kind of trainer who would say it doesn't really matter what you eat as long as you come and work out with me.
I said that many years ago. The Well, I do apologize, of course, to whoever heard that. But yeah, I feel sometimes in the fitness industry, it's just a place to push, of course, sales for, like
Yeah, yeah.
products or
Of course.
protein.
I understand why he said that because I wanted to hear that. I wanted to eat what I want to eat and then come and burn it off in the gym, obviously, but it
Basically,
doesn't work like that.
trainers who say that are saying the same thing as a doctor who's giving Ozempic or all these drugs, saying,
Yeah.
well, you can eat anything you want. Just take it.
Exactly.
Do you have an opinion on those drugs?
My God. Of course, I have very strong opinions on those drugs. I'm I'm really disappointed to especially the people that I know on a personal level who use them because especially those who know how I have worked on my health all these years and because they know how many options there are. There's carnivore, there's vegan, there's blood type, there's low FODMAP, there's anti-inflammatory diet. There's so many options. And most of the people who do those drugs have not tried any of the options. And they're not interested in trying anything. Most of them just wanted a quick fix. And it makes me sad because what happens when the next thing comes out? They're going to try that as well. And then it's going to be side effects upon side effects upon side effects. And then I'm going to be here watching my friends and family get sicker and sicker. It's it's a horrible thing to see and to watch. And I really hope that they don't get the side effects, but it is my fear that they will. And yeah, I just don't think that they're the healthiest option at all. And also we don't know the long-term effects. We've started to see some of them, but I just think that you should work on yourself as naturally as possible. If it's not your food, then work out. Don't go for some synthetic thing made in a lab because we just don't know.
And they never fix the root cause. They just cover something, and that's it. Yeah, and the side effects are quite rapidly popping out
Yeah.
since these drugs have been on the market. But anyway, as you said, I mean, people are looking for easy ways. But if you gave up on your health, on your body for 10, 15 years, you can't fix that over 2 months or 3 months. Even if you fix that over a year, it's already a good deal.
True. But they don't want to try.
You had one story on your Instagram, about the blood type. Could you say something about that?
Oh, yeah. So I would say the beginning of my rabbit hole into health and wellness started with the blood type diet. I thought this is it. I know it was the beginning, but in the beginning, you're very zealous and you're very naive and you think that you've found gold when you find the first thing. So I found the blood type diet and it made a lot of sense to me at the time. I was like, well, this is based on your blood. I mean, what else can be more accurate than your blood? And so I read the book, found out my blood type, and I started eating according to my blood type. And I'm the blood type that tells you that you should eat red meat once or twice a week. And it actually says that, in particular, if you are of African descent, that you should eat as little red meat as possible in order to be healthy. So I did that diet. I think I was on it for almost a year, and I became this thin. I promise. I was so thin because it's majority vegetable diet. It's a low fat diet. There's like no dairy on the diet, no red meat on the diet. So like, what are you actually eating? Leaves and chia seeds, basically. I was very, very thin. I was even more thin than before those guys were saying what they said about me. But thankfully, they were no longer my husband's friends by that time, so they didn't get a chance to comment on my thin body. But yeah, I was very thin.
Hold on. So you said you heard that comments from your husband friend. Then you went into the potato diet, white potato.
Yeah,
Did you gain weight at this moment?
yeah. I gained weight,
And then you
and
went into the blood type A diet
yeah,
and
yeah,
lose weight again.
yeah. But I lost more weight than ever. I was thinner than ever. Everything was gone in terms of being a woman. Everything. It was really bad. The only good thing was that my stomach was extremely, extremely flat, but there was nothing else. So I don't recommend the blood type diet because, yeah, maybe if you're trying to lose weight, but you're going to go too far because you're going to be malnourished, I think. So I'm not recommending it to anyone. Carnivore is suiting me much better. And the surprising thing is that I'm doing the opposite of what the diet said. I'm eating meat every single day, more than once a day. And that book says eat meat once or twice a week.
Did you recheck the science behind the book? Was it a strong?
No, I didn't check that. I just took it word for word and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. Remember, I was trying to fix my period. So whatever someone said, I was going to try it. I didn't have time to check science because the only testing ground I have is my body and my cycle. So I have to wait every month to see, are we making progress? Yes or no?
So I like to give you the opportunity to end this interview with an advice, a thought, a reflection to all the men, but more particularly the women who are listening, based on your own journey and pain relief.
The one thing that I always want to stress to any woman who is struggling with their hormones, their menstrual cycle, is please don't think that you need to fix your hormones individually, because that's one thing that I thought I had to do on this journey. There was a time I was working on my estrogen in particular. Then I was working on progesterone one by one. Then it was the prolactin, then it was the androgens, then it was the testosterone, and basically ended up with supplements for each individual hormone. I wasted so much time, so much money, so much effort because doing that just didn't work. If I had fixed insulin from the beginning, then everything would have fallen into place altogether. Because if your insulin is dysregulated, then your hormones are dysregulated. And once you fix your insulin, then it literally balances your hormones. This is truly the healthiest I've ever been after a long journey. If you deep dive into my life, you will know that I've tried acupuncture, I've done enemas, I've done Chinese herbs, I've done anything and everything that you can think of in this world to fix my blood sugar and my cycle. And only when I went carnivore did everything literally fix itself. Within the first month, I started to see results. And there's no other diet, no other plan, nothing else I've done in my life that gave me results in such a short time. So please try it, even if you are scared that it's going to kill you. If you're scared that it's going to give you heart disease or whatever you're afraid of, please try it for a minimum of 90 days. That's the only advice I have.
And if someone wants to reach out to you to have some advice, or where do they find you?
So you can find me on all your favorite social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube under Carnivore Cutie Pumi. Or if you want the handle, it's at Carnivore Cutie 8. And my email address is carnivore.cutie8@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to answer your questions, whatever they may be. But whatever it is, please don't be afraid and don't suffer in silence.
Yeah. Well, we will write all your social media on the show notes, so people can easily contact you if they need to. And thank you very much, Pumi, for
Thank
sharing
you.
journey and your story, because I hope it will give hope to many women that, of course, there are solutions, and it's not something that we cannot deal with, but yeah, and stay optimistic. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you to everyone who listened. If you liked that interview, if you like the content that we are sharing, you can always subscribe to the channel or share to your friends. And we will be back soon with new interviews again. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you.